First of all, I'm sort of in awe. I look around and I see so many familiar faces today and a lot of new faces. I want to start off, just talk to you for a few minutes and let you know how I got to this podium today, because it's relevant to some issues that I want to talk about later on. When I started my practice in 1987, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was an assistant director at a nonprofit agency serving elders in Boston, and I knew that it was time for a change. I was seeking a job that offered me more flexibility, particularly because I had young kids at the time, more autonomy, and maybe more creativity. And there were only a handful of GCMs in the Boston area. They were the pioneers, and many of them are actually here today. The only option to be a GCM then was to start your own business. And of course, I knew nothing about starting and running a business. And like many social workers, and I'm sure you can agree with me, I was completely risk averse. We operate in bureaucracies like hospitals, home care agencies, mental health agencies. So much of my social work career was being part of a system defined by other people and other forces. Was I really ready to go out on my own? I was fortunate to join forces with an elder law attorney who was just starting his own practice at the time and was looking for a way to get problems off his desk. He'd come from a big law firm and was willing and ready to take a chance on a solo career in another totally unproven, unknown field, elder law. He was anything but risk averse. I learned my craft really well in the early years. Working with my elderly clients, that was the easy part. That was second nature to me. But developing business skills, managing expectations of families, balancing the growth of my practice while trying to keep the quality of services high, that took a lot more time and energy to develop, and it forced me to take risks, to grow and develop in ways I never could have imagined. And soon, I was hooked. Hooked on the freedom and autonomy I had, hooked on the creative control I had over my work as an independent professional, and hooked on the true difference I felt I was making in the lives of my clients. I was creating my own brand. The problem was, I was very isolated, except for the few colleagues in my area who were very generous with their time and advice. I joined NAPGCM in 1994, and I went to my first conference in Tucson in '96. I felt very excited and nervous, as many of you who are here for the first time must feel when you walk into a room full of strangers. But my discomfort evaporated quickly as I began listening to the conversations going on around me. When did you start your practice? I've set up my practice, but I can't get the phone to ring. Or, the phone is ringing, but why is it so hard to get someone to hire me? Not to mention watching all the conference attendees rushing from the ballroom to the bank of payphones, yes, payphones in those days, pre-cell phones, to call back their clients and deal with all the crises, all while trying to learn and advance their skills at the conference. I felt at home. So here I am, some 20 years later, standing before you at our 30th National Conference. It's traditionally been the role of the elected president to give members an update on the progress of our association at the annual business luncheon. We've been very busy working on a number of fronts, including the development of robust educational offerings, professional alliances, public relations outreach, Instapolls that continue to gain national attention, tools and resources to help your businesses grow, and much more. We've also done a lot of research into the areas of research and branding, which are now bearing fruit. So what I really want to focus on in the remaining few minutes we have is how, by taking risks together as a profession, we can work to change our organization and to move forward. For too long, we've labored in obscurity. Too many potential clients, families, opinion makers, and the general public don't know exactly what we do. We struggle to differentiate ourselves from other professionals and entities that are emerging to serve the growing needs of an exploding aging population. And we're at a critical moment. The moment where we need to clearly define our profession has never been more acute. And if we don't do the defining, you can be sure that the rapidly growing marketplace will do it for us. But NAPGCM members have always been innovators and leaders in our field, from the small group of professionals who started our organization in 1985 to the 2,000 plus members today who practice with the highest degree of professionalism, aided by our professional standards, our code of ethics, and by our certification. In all we do, NAPGCM remains focused on setting a high bar and on our core mission of serving our member needs through education, collaboration, and leadership. Last year, Julie Gray, our 2013 president, stood before you and presented the strategic plan approved by the board of directors. She talked about how we were sowing and cultivating the seeds for two important projects, research and branding. Research because we have little or no data on who we are as a profession. And branding because in order to differentiate ourselves and show our value and uniqueness, we need a solid, professional, and clear message. Julie took us on, of all things, a guided imagery meditation about research. Has to be the first time in history that anybody did a guided, if you were not here, you cannot believe what you missed. We closed our eyes and fantasized about research. Okay. It was amazing. She showed us what it would actually be like to demonstrate the power of care management through research and branding. She encouraged us to dream big, and that together we had it within our power to transform our profession. Well, those seeds are starting to grow, and the vision is becoming a reality. I had great slides to show you on the board of directors and other folks, but I'll just say, the board had the vision, the staff had the energy, and you, all our members, are providing the resources in the form of data and volunteer efforts that power these projects. I want to thank all of you for your contributions. And let me just tell you a little bit about what's going on. On the research front, our first ever benchmarking study has been completed, and Aaron Markham, CEO of Home Care Pulse, is here today and is going to be speaking a little bit later about the results of that study. In measurable terms, the study reveals what threats and opportunities lie ahead for care managers and how our individual practices match up to others across the region and the country. I'm not going to spoil any surprises by telling you the results of the survey. Many of you have seen it because those of us who participated got a beautiful, packed statistical booklet about all of it. Aaron will do that, but I can tell you the results are revealing and extremely informative for all of our practices. On the branding front, we're going to hear from Jane Cavalier, CEO of Brightmark Consulting. Some of you have met with her. She's been nonstop meeting with folks today in focus groups. For more than 25 years, Jane has been on the leading edge of branding and marketing, helping global corporations and game-changing companies grow. When she first presented to the NAPGCM Board of Directors, we were all wowed by her energy, her intelligence, and her enthusiasm about taking on a project with a nonprofit organization with a much smaller budget than the usual projects that she's engaged in. The branding project is underway. Interviews and focus groups will include GCMs, non-GCMs, industry partners, families, clients, and more. In June, all members will receive a brief survey to clarify any outstanding questions the researchers have, and an additional national survey will be conducted. We all understand that the outcome of the branding project has to stay true to the goals and ideals of our organization and to the ideals of our members. In the end, if we do our job right, clarity about the profession of care management will reign, and everything and everyone will speak for the brand. And now I want to go back just to the beginning of my remarks when I talked about my little personal journey here. I told you that when I started my GCM practice, I was totally risk averse, but I knew I couldn't stand still in my professional life. I had some lucky breaks, but I also persevered even when I wasn't quite sure whether my efforts would succeed. If we as a profession stand still, we risk becoming irrelevant or overpowered by other professionals. But if we stand together, If we take risks together, we will gain the visibility and clarity to take us into the next chapter of care management. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for our profession to make its mark, to make us the dominant industry brand that's recognized by providers, by clients, and the general public. So between the benchmarking survey and the branding project, when all is completed, you as members will have, perhaps for the first time, a way to differentiate yourself from competitors, professional credibility, clarity, language and tools to better market your business, and a profession with a strong and respected voice in the future of healthcare. Thanks again to our wonderful board of directors who helped this vision happen, to our staff, and of course to each and every one of you who have supported our efforts. Thank you so much.